All right, so Steve, we're gonna go to Carousel, so you should start it off.
Okay, Carousel. You guys, we spoke earlier about the decision about keeping it original or rewriting it. Carousel is kind of the epitome of a little bit of both. The main concept was maintained. A few of the verses were actually, no, the verses are the same, just two more verses were added to give it a different twist. It's a bizarre song. It's a weird song. People that I know, Matthew's asked me on more than one occasion, what were you thinking?
Didn't your wife ask you the same thing?
Yes, and to be honest, in its original form, the version that I sang, that we had on, that you sent us on tape,
yes,
she absolutely hated it. I was almost forbidden to play it because she hated it that much, because the way it was done brought back a bunch of bad memories for her. The redo that was done by Stony Creek Revival with the vocalization of my dear brother Douglas, I have actually caught her singing it a few times. She absolutely hated and despised the way that I sang it. She loves the way that Douglas sings it. Originally, how much time do I have? Originally, when it was written, I was out and about driving my '62 Plymouth, and I saw Douglas's Falcon parked in front of Mike and Sue's restaurant. I think he was waiting for his first wife to get off work or something. And so I went in, we shared a cup of coffee together, and he proceeded to tell me, I think it was a dream that he had or something that he was imagining or whatever. But he described to me a restaurant / funhouse. And the restaurant part, the restaurant rotated around the kitchen. That's the carousel. But the actual draw for it was the funhouse part, which was basically more intended to drive you crazy. It had mind-bending things, such as you walk into one section, and while you're walking around trying to find your way through this maze, it would actually shift floors so that when you came out was not where you had been. So you obviously couldn't get out of it. And so he told me all this, and it fired up my 17-year-old brain. And I went home and I tried to basically tap into his brain and pull out his thoughts, but interpret it for myself. And that's why the song is so weird and bizarre. And it's actually a description of a funhouse. But later on, it kind of started becoming, my wife, she had her own thoughts on it, and that's why the secondary verses kind of take it a different direction, as basically trying to come out of a bad situation. So that's my take on it. I'm going to shut up now, and what do you guys make of it?
Well, I'm going to invite Doug to give some of his thoughts. However, I do want to interject as the original music man on this song. I definitely, when you gave this to me, you gave me no idea about Doug's influence. I do remember you talking about a dream that had been had.
Yeah.
But I always saw you as the guy who introduced me to Creedence. And so I knew I wanted to give a Creedence-y feel to it. That's why I came up with that riff. This is yet another song, however, which I have to say, I now would like to share the music props with my brother, because then he had some ideas with the song, and so we worked together trying to create something kind of new and yet familiar. So that's what I'd say musically. Doug, so what was your reaction to being reintroduced to this song that apparently you inspired?
Yeah, I didn't realize that I'd inspired anything in anybody. I don't even recall the situation. I was probably waiting for my ex-wife to get off work. She worked at Musco's there, and my Sue's was across the street.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I am honored, though, to be part of the song. I was also equally honored to be asked to sing it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I heard Stephen's voice on it, and I wasn't sure exactly which way it should go. I chose, without even really thinking about it, because I never even went over the lyrics too much. When I got them, I just waited for it to be here to do it. I didn't know what's going to happen dynamically. But anyway, I chose to do it what I call Blue-Eyed Soul. You know, it's like everything thought, you know, I just love that, you know, that feel to it.
Which I struggled with, Doug.
Did you?
I never said anything at the time, but I liked Steve's version. That was locked into my head. But I recognized, bowing to the Cooks, that this was your guys' song. You know, I was only the music man, and but I struggled with that. But you do a great job.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well, I was going to say, because Steve almost spoke the words, almost like a Neil Diamond. Have you ever heard about a frog that dreamed of being a king and then became one? You know, it's almost like it was more spoken than sung. You know, but Doug was hearing an actual singing thing.
Yeah, and that's how I wanted it. That's how I heard it in my head, and that's how I was pretty satisfied with the way it came out. Mm-hmm. I think the second time I sang it that we left, I think I liked parts of that one better. But the one we finished up with, I was pretty
almost every song Matthew and I and Mark walked away from thinking, man, we could have done this better. We could have done that better. But then we'd be still recording.
Yeah, exactly.
And then with a lot of the backing vocals that we put in after Doug had sung the original, then we went back and we were all singing the background and the cackling and the laughing. This is go back to Steve, what you were talking about with a disclaimer. This song might blow your mind. Okay, so this is not, you know,
this is one of two that might.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
It is not a little long ago, or was it yet? You know, there's none of that on this one here. This is high octane.
That's music.
Yeah, so you want to, you know, be forestalled. You know, there's some creepy elements to this one, but in a creepy sort of way, I thought it came out great.
Which to me is kind of mind blowing as the writer, to think that Long Ago and Carousel both came out of my brain.
I'm going to use that on the next song we talk about.
Well, Yellow Submarine and Helter Skelter both came out of Paul McCartney's brain. You know, I mean, how different can you get, you know, two songs?
But I want to say, going into this, I am honored that Debbie and Gordon sang Long Ago. I am honored that Douglas was willing to take on Carousel. You know, one of the advantages of having an older brother is that your musical influences come from them. And at the time, I know Douglas is the one that introduced me to Alice Cooper. He introduced me to Creedence Clearwater Revival. And in fact, after 30 years, I finally gave him back his albums that I'd stolen from him. He introduced me to...
And then you in turn turned us on to Creedence, because that wasn't something that our cousins were sharing with us. That came from you, which came from Doug.
Mom wouldn't have let us get Alice Cooper in the house, though. That wasn't going to happen.
Well, let's just say Mom didn't know that Alice Cooper was in the house. Douglas also turned me on to Slade, another band that I dearly love. So that's one of the advantages of having an older brother. So is that the musical vision or depth or whatever is enhanced because of that. Because it's like with you and Bob and Glenn, you've got their influence coming in, but you have your own influence. Well, that was how it was with me and my older brother. You know, it was really weird in my head because I had Douglas with CCR and Alice Cooper, and I had Mark with Partridge Family. You know, and somehow I had to negotiate the middle of that. So,
That's cool. Cool insight. Marcus, what do you got to say on this?
I'm speechless on this song. It's one of those songs where you just have to experience it. You just have to experience it, which actually brings me to my quote. My quote is actually going to be from Leo Tolstoy. He says, "Music is the shorthand of emotion." And this song it's not shorthand. This is definitely longhand, but it's full of emotion.
And
well, I would say Carousel is also maybe a little bit of backhand. You know,
what I was thinking too is what I love about Carousel is it's not just a simple or silly love song, if you will, which so many of our early ones were. You know, that's the strongest emotion that we could convey at the time. And so this is cool. It's a story song. You follow a story, and it's kind of weird, and it's very different than what was normal. And on this album, it shares only one other slot with another odd song, and it just kind of takes you to a different place, which I always enjoyed.
And so back in the day, they say if you turn the music backwards, you could hear certain things. If you turn Carousel backwards, you'll hear another song that's going to be coming up on this album because it gets even weirder.
So maybe on that note, send us out. You already got the
Yeah, I already did the quote. So let's just ask you, if you like what we're doing, rock our subscribe bar. Give us a thumbs up. Ring our bell, because if you do, we're going to get
another call.